wilds of Alaska, vast, untamed, and dangerous.
There are places where you're totally isolated. There's no way to get in or out except by plane.
A place where predators roam.
Every place you go, everything you hear, bears, bears, bears. But humans pack a lot of evil.
And evil can strike anywhere.
All trails lead home. There's no sense for her not finding her way home.
There was no drag marks, no blood, no tissue, no torn clothing, nothing like that.
This is not a hurt child. This is not a lost child. Something bad has happened in our community.
We should have realized these mountains don't protect us. There's no place that evil can't hide.
From the base of Alaska's majestic Mount Wrangell, the mighty Copper River flows, breathing life into the secluded outpost of Teslina, nestled along its banks.
The Copper River salmon is the one that gets the highest price. There's a lot of times helicopters wait on the beaches for the first salmon to be caught and put on the helicopter flown to Valdez and put on the Alaska Airlines to gourmet restaurants in Seattle and on the West Coast.
The river is the pulse of wild Alaska, literally the reason tiny villages like Teslina exist, deep in the interior of the rugged tundra.
Teslina is the kind of place where families go to get away from the big city life and the big city issues. It's pretty isolated, and everybody knows everybody.
It's really just a spot on the map, a little spot along the highway. And if you look to the left for a moment, you'll see a little general store and a couple of houses, and that's Teslina.
We lived in this little isolated area of nirvana. All I have to worry about is whether there's a bear in the garden or, will my car start at 50 below?
In 1990, David LaMer and his wife trade the urban life of Anchorage for Teslina's quiet isolation.
People didn't lock their doors. Everybody knows everybody. You drive down the road, they meet you, they wave.
When the LaMer family moves into town, David's 11-year-old daughter, Mandy, becomes fast friends with her closest neighbor, Erin, who lives a mile away.
We were always into solving mysteries. She lived right by a store, so we'd see a lot of people that would be walking in and out, and even they would turn into mysteries sometimes.
The girls love pretending to be detectives and solving make-believe mysteries.
Your son.
Little do they know, the fun and games will soon end.
I was working on a project in my house. I remember Erin and Carrie, my other daughter, were wanting to help me.
No.
When are you gonna be done? I'm bored.
And I really didn't want their help. I mean, they were getting in the way.
What about Mandy? I mean, you like to play with her. Why don't you call her and see if she wants to do something?
Okay.
All right.
We were going to go to her house and solve a little mystery in the attic. And that was the first time that I had walked there by myself. And so I had asked if she could meet me halfway so I could have some company.
Mandy had never made the journey alone either, but her mother reluctantly agrees, knowing she'll be walking along the village airstrip most of the way, in plain view.
Mom stood out and watched her walk down the edge of that runway and get to the edge of the runway and wave goodbye.
Bye, Mom.
All she had to do really was to get to that 90-degree, almost 90-degree turn down the road. And then she would be looking at her girlfriend standing at the end of the cul-de-sac.
In reality, there was a very, very short distance of time that she would not be able to be seen by their people.
Erin and her little sister set off to meet Mandy. They get to the designated halfway point, but curiously, Mandy isn't there.
I'm cold, Erin. Hold on, she'll be here soon.
We waited for probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we decided to keep on walking.
Erin! You know what? Maybe she forgot. Let's just go to her house. Yeah.
They head straight to Mandy's house. When they arrive, the made-up mystery suddenly becomes real.
I had been driving on the night shift, so I came in and I saw Mandy that morning for breakfast, and I'd gone to sleep. And my wife woke me up and said, something's wrong.
David, the girls are here. Mandy's not. They don't know where she is.
Let's go find her.
Erin made it all the way to our house and hadn't seen Mandy. My first thought was that for some reason she took a shortcut or something.
Mandy!
David traces his daughter's steps.
I drove down the airstrip, down the side of the road to Erin's house, and saw her parents. They hadn't seen her. All of a sudden, this made no sense.
Mandy!
There was only one way she would have gone. There was no reason why they wouldn't have made the connection.
Perhaps something grabbed Mandy's attention and drew her off the beaten path.
That was always something that I think run through some of us' mind. Did she find something of interest, or, so did she step into the woods and just get swallowed up by them?
Right at the edge of Teslina's few roads is a vast wilderness. To a child walking, it would seem to go on forever. And if she'd entered the woods, had she crossed paths with a wild animal?
All right, guys. Nice tight knot right there.
Worried about this, David had taught his daughter about the hidden dangers when they moved to the area.
And just remember, these bears, they're not pets. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Great.
She learned that wild animals are wild animals, and to not be afraid of them, but to respect them and to give them their space.
I think I found some bear tracks.
Really? Where? Yep. Those are some bear tracks. Good job.
She knew about bears and moose and, what would provoke them, how to be safe in their environment.
He'd also trained her how to find her way home.
Our thing was that we did bear hunting together, usually over bait stations, and it was just the kind of father-daughter time that we had alone.
Mandy, honey, that was really good. Now pretend if I wasn't here, how would you find your way home?
I try to teach her sense of direction, pay attention to which way you're going.
That way.
Very good.
It really didn't make any sense that she was just lost.
Yet now, she seems to have simply disappeared.
If you look at the area, it's bordered by 3 sides of the Copper River and 1 side by the highway. And there's ATV trails that go everywhere through there. It's almost like the saying, all roads lead to Rome, all trails lead home. There's no sense for her not finding her way home.
Unless she dared to get too close to the river.
The Copper River can be very dangerous. It's very silty and very deep and very fast. If you fall in there, the silt fills your clothes and pulls you to the bottom. You can never be seen again. Even with a life vest, you can still be pulled to the bottom.
fear growing, David alerts the volunteer fire department.
I want that first group heading up north on that river bar. That's my priority area to search.
Within hours of his daughter's disappearance, volunteers and Alaska state troopers scour walking trails and ATV tracks that crisscross the piney woods.
We just went out and started yelling her name to let her know that she can, if she's hiding from some animal, she can come out now. So we just yelled and yelled and yelled.
A neighbor tells police she saw Mandy walking alone along the lonesome stretch of road near the airstrip around 3 o'clock. But then, what happened to her?
There's three basic things that can kill you with wildlife. One is their babies. The mothers are very protective of their babies. The other is startling them. If you come upon them by surprise and they're not aware of you, sometimes they'll lash out in defense. And the third one is food. If you come upon a bear with its food buried, it might think you're trying to take it, and it could easily take you out in exchange. Very rarely does an animal actually attack you to eat you.
Certainly a grizzly could pick up a child like that and carry it, but there'd be something. And it's going to go a little ways and probably cache the body, meaning bury it. There was nothing like that. No drag marks, no blood, no tissue, no torn clothing, no nothing.
Troopers bring in search and rescue dogs to track Mandy's scent. They follow it from her house, but the trail ends suddenly. It never approached the Copper River, and police believe she didn't fall in. There's just no sign of Mandy.
By that time, the search teams were basically doubling over. And I just remember me and my son were looking at the map, and he said, "There's not very many more areas left to search. Do you think they're gonna find her?" And I remember saying assuredly, "I think they're gonna find her." But after day 2 is borrowed time, in my mind.
With any search that you have, when you have someone lost, there is a time where you have to say the probability of this person being found alive, each hour, each day, there's a reduction in it. And so you got to get to the point when you say, okay, we're probably not going to find her alive. The objective now is to find her, to bring her home.
Desperate to find his daughter, David asks a bush pilot to help him look from the air.
I said, we're, spot game from the air all the time. Maybe we could go look. And so he said, sure. So we took off and we made search patterns back and forth across the search area. We saw fox on the ground. We saw a kid out collecting cans. By then the panic's growing.
They face an unspeakable possibility. What if someone snatched the little girl? The sudden vanishing rattles the small town of 241 people as theories fly and paranoia grows.
Nobody really knew what happened. Nobody knew who could have done it.
We're all thinking about who have we seen lately that doesn't belong in our area.
Deep in the wilds of Alaska, an 11-year-old child is missing. And Teslina, the remote mountain village Mandy LaMer calls home, is gripped with fear.
That little bit of time on that particular day, where nothing ever happens, Mandy was gone. Gone, disappeared, vanished.
Alaska state troopers team with dozens of volunteers for an extended search of the Teslina area, but they all come up empty. Has someone abducted Mandy? Locals suspect it's the work of an outsider. The main road through Teslina connects it to the larger town of Glen Allen.
If you're going anywhere, in Alaska, especially Anchorage. You have to go through Glen Allen. Have to. No other way.
Glen Allen is a busy supply hub where strangers are common.
It has a lot of cars going through it. And so we thought maybe it was one of those crazy people.
As suspicion mounts, terror envelops the isolated outpost.
And usually when you went down to the Copper River to picnic, you were looking for animal prints. You know, if there were bear prints, you'd pack up and go home. But you're looking for human prints. Who else had been around there?
But because Mandy disappeared from an area far off the main road to Glen Allen, Sergeant McCann does not believe it was an outsider.
To be passing through on the way to someplace else and just grab her, you have to go off the main highway to do this. Not very likely. Capital R random, I mean, majorly random.
It might be someone closer to home.
A stranger could have done that. But somebody else could actually have been watching her, knew where she lived, and went there often. And you could go there without being observed because right next to her house is the general store. You could go there and see her and think about it. You could go there every day and think about it.
You'd like to think that no, people that come to Alaska to visit aren't going to do something like this. They're not going to abduct a child. But if you deny that, then you have to accept that, was that one of us that did this?
And if that's the case, Mandy's abductor might be one of the 200 familiar faces in town.
You were isolated and confined to where you got to know most everybody that lived in your area. And if you didn't know them by name, you knew them by sight, for sure. If you saw them on the road, you'd wave. Essentially, nobody was a stranger.
Gossip runs wild like the river. Everyone in Teslina starts to suspect the worst, each other.
People started looking around them, going, well, I wonder if he or she or they. It changed the way people looked at each other, how they interacted with each other.
I know I had a list of people that I thought were crazy and violent enough to do something like this. And I would be very guarded around those people. Everybody had their own list of people who they thought could do this.
This level of distrust has happened before in the area. Residents in Teslina vividly recall a similar small-town terror in the dead of winter, just outside the quiet village of McCarthy. 7 years earlier, one of McCarthy's own residents hatched a plan to take out the entire town, all 22 people. Lewis Hastings fatally ambushed 6 of his neighbors before troopers were able to get to the isolated mountaintop village and put an end to the bloodbath. Now the harsh reality sets in, that evil lurks in Teslina.
We'd go out on buses to the locations that they gave us to search. And I was sitting next to the police officer who said to me, many times, people that commit the crime are also part of the search party. And he looks at me and he says, the killer could be on this bus with us.
Paranoia runs rampant through town. A local movie store owner even offers police a list of suspicious customers who rent violent films. But they're unable to connect anyone to the child's disappearance. No sign of Mandy or her body.
For the nefarious-minded individual that wants to disappear somebody, it's easy. There's the water that can suck them down with the deep currents and the silt. There's the deep holes and crevasses and canyons that nobody will ever find. You can fly over an area and drop them out. You can bury them in the snow and the predators will eat them and disrupt their bones.
Police fear they're well beyond borrowed time.
You know, that grizzly bear, I'm ruling out, I'm saying that the grizzly bear didn't attack her. That doesn't mean a grizzly bear or a black bear wouldn't pass through there and eat her remains. I've got to get this done. I got to find that girl and find her quick.
Mandy's parents refuse to give up.
I decorated her bedroom with balloons and welcome home to keep their hopes alive. We were going to find her and that she would be okay.
Their hope is short-lived. 10 days after Mandy vanished, volunteers double back over an area already searched and find the child's lifeless body. The sight sickens the soul.
Oh my God. I think it's her, man.
Her shoes and pants are missing.
This is a sexual homicide, a sexually sadistic homicide. Nothing this child did precipitated this murder.
Investigators keep the detail of the missing clothes secret. If any suspect later mentions the clothes, it would implicate him, since it's something only the killer would know. An officer goes to deliver the grim news to the LaMer family.
We met on the road and I saw him turn around and saw his blue lights come on. I knew when I got out that they were going to tell me that they found her. And he said, "We found her." And I got excited. "You found her?" And he says, "But she's dead." In the English language, we have words. Widow and widower describe somebody who loses their spouse. We have orphan, describing somebody who's lost their parents. But there's no word in any language on earth that describes a parent who's lost a child. And maybe that's because the loss is without words.
We should have realized that these mountains don't protect us. I honestly think that we actually were in a fairy tale existence, thinking that we were immune from this kind of stuff.
At autopsy, the pathologist determines a cut on the child's lip was most likely inflicted 12 hours before her death. It means a heartbreaking truth. Mandy LaMer had been held by a vicious abductor for at least half a day.
You can only imagine what was said to her, what was done to her in the meantime, what was going through this baby's mind. I mean, she's 11. She's never known fear like this.
Defensive wounds reveal the little girl who'd been schooled by her father bravely fought back until, in a final cowardly act, her attacker threw her to the ground and shot her. Then dumped her body in an area that had already been searched.
We determined that she was shot in place with a .22. Was shot in the face, likely looking up at her attacker. And then when her head slumped down, he shot her again in the top of the head.
There's a solace in the fact that she's no longer in pain. Now you have 100 nightmares of what could have transpired from the time she left the house until she was killed.
And the location where Mandy's body was found is also disturbing. The remote tract of wilderness is accessible only by winding trails.
These trails originally started with animals like moose and caribou, and eventually people came in, and they're what we call ATV trails now. The odds of an outsider stumbling on one of those trails is 1,000,000 to 1. There's no way they can know where they are or where they go unless they're local.
Those in the tiny village had worried it might be an insider, yet hoped they were wrong. Now they know for sure. A sadistic killer walks among them, a monster in their midst.
It took somebody having knowledge of the area to take her. This wasn't a stranger that walked in there. We're looking for one of us.
After the murder of Mandy LaMer, a dark cloud of suspicion hangs over the remote Alaskan outpost of Teslina. As residents point fingers at one another, a vigilante spirit takes hold, and many look to Mandy's father to settle the score.
First, there was an awful lot of talk of vigilante justice. There was people that said, Dave, if you know who did it, kill him.
David LaMer recognizes a need for protection from a force swelling within: vengeance.
Where do you have the guns at?
The night they found Mandy's body, I called a friend of mine and I told him to come get my guns out of my house. I did not want the temptation.
Investigators rush to piece together shreds of evidence found on Mandy's body in hopes of revealing her killer.
The killer always brings something of himself to the crime scene, and likewise, he takes something of the crime scene away with him.
Investigators find exactly what they need: small red and blue fibers and several types of metallic particles on Mandy's body. According to crime lab techs, the metallic particles resemble the types produced by industrial grinders and welding equipment, but police still don't know who did it. And because sexual predators rarely strike only once, they worry he's not finished killing.
We're always concerned that it'll happen again, but it doesn't usually happen again right away. Depends on where that sexual murderer is at in his bizarre thought process. He may need to relive this again right away, or he may feed off that encounter.
All of a sudden, there was an evil presence, and they were concerned, will it happen again? There was even people carrying guns that hadn't before, and there were even on a rare occasion, people having their children having guns handy when they were playing in the yards.
Anxious for leads, Sergeant McCann appeals for help from those who know Teslina best.
I went to the community more than perhaps the press. I told them the same thing I've told other audiences. You know, I paid my respects to Mandy and the tragedy that has befallen them, but deny it as you might. It's very possible that someone from your own community has abducted Mandy and likely murdered her. You know, there were no ransom notes, there were no kidnapping, ransom calls, nothing like that. You know, and I made a plea to the community. I wanted to know who, if anybody, stood out. Is there anybody strange here?
1 week later, police get an important call. 31-year-old truck driver Dave DeForest phones authorities and says he can no longer stay silent about what he witnessed on Mandy's road the day of the abduction. He'd seen a pickup truck, and he recognized the man behind the wheel as Teslina resident Charlie Smithart.
David DeForest put Charlie Smithart on the road within minutes of when this girl had disappeared.
The Smithart family is well respected in Teslina.
Charlie Smithart was a quiet guy, a bit unusual. Lived in the garage next to his mother's house, went to her house for dinner every night.
All the kids in town know the retired mechanic.
He was the guy that the kids from the area would come around and he would fix their bicycles.
There you go. What do you think?
It's great.
Yeah, it does. Matches your jacket. Yeah, I got something for you. Look at this. Candy necklace.
Smithart lives a quiet life, mainly keeping to himself. The small-town grapevine erupts with chatter. and some locals turn on Dave DeForest.
It is a large native presence, and people do pick sides. Dave was an outsider. Charlie Smithart's family was there. They'd been there, a lifetime.
That split second that I did see him there changed my life. A complete turnaround. Somebody always thinks that you did it. It's a terrible feeling.
And besides, Dave DeForest has an alibi.
When I came forth, and I placed Charlie Smithart at the intersection of the road that supposedly Mandy LaMer was on. I was at work. We were hauling dirt from our plant to my boss's new house. There were several of us that was working. I mean, there was no way that, I could leave work and sneak away for hours at a time and not anybody noticed that I was gone. All I did is said what I seen.
Police have no proof linking anyone to the crime. Will the killer slip through their grasp? In the remote Alaskan hideaway of Teslina, state troopers seek the deviant sexual predator who kidnapped and killed 11-year-old Mandy LaMer. They're certain the killer is no stranger to town. Truck driver Dave DeForest claims he saw Teslina native Charlie Smithart driving on Mandy's road about the same time she disappeared.
He said, I'd like to offer you more, but that's all I've got. That's all I've got. I don't know if it means anything, but I was driving by, and this is what I saw. If it fits, it fits. If not, done.
Investigators take a closer look at Charlie Smithart. They notice the quiet loner acted differently after Mandy's disappearance.
He never gets involved in anything, not anything. And he showed up. Searchers would go out and search, and so did Charlie.
And he's quick to share his findings with others.
I happened to stop at the store in Teslina, and Charlie was in there, and he says to me, come on, I want to show you something. So I went with him in his car. He said he saw a piece of cloth in a tree, something he thought might have been Mandy's clothes. I called the police to tell them that Charlie had taken me up there, and they were more interested in my telling them about Charlie than they were about that piece of cloth.
Where were you at 3 o'clock, August 27th?
When questioned, Smithart insists he never knew Mandy LaMer and says it's impossible that he could have been in his truck near Mandy's home around 3 p.m. His alibi? He was home watching a certain game show at the time.
What kind of proof is that? It was on 3 o'clock yesterday, it's going to be on 3 o'clock today, and it's going to be on 3 o'clock tomorrow. What kind of an alibi is it to tell me you were watching at 3 o'clock?
Then, police learn about something Smithart said to others during the search. He suggested a circling chopper must have been looking for the child's missing clothing. But troopers hadn't released that detail to the public.
Did Charlie guess that she wasn't fully clothed? That she was missing her lower clothing, her pants, her shoes, her sneakers? Or did he know something that only the murderer knew?
Investigators also learn of troubling remarks Smithart made while searching for Mandy alongside a 14-year-old boy.
Charlie Smithart wanted to show the boy something, had the boy get into his pickup, and drove him down to the end of that road. He told him he had seen some tracks down there that could have been a little girl, and went on to tell him rather bizarre stories about how he had come down there with young women and had sex. Rather bizarre.
Adding to police suspicions, 2 young girls come forward, saying Charlie Smithart had tried to pick them up prior to Mandy's abduction.
These girls all had common characteristics. They all had like long blonde hair, they were teenagers, and one of the mothers even said that when she saw Mandy LaMer's picture in the newspaper, she thought that was her daughter.
There's no doubt, and that's typical of this kind of murderer. They're going amongst the community all the time and seeing victims that fit their criteria. And they're starting their fantasies. They go out hunting.
While investigators piece together circumstantial evidence to try to get a search warrant, Mandy's father struggles to be patient.
Every day represents somebody getting away with murder. Every day, to me, represents he has a chance to do this again.
Eventually, David LaMer is pushed to the breaking point.
There was a day he parked in front of my house and walked over to the grocery store next door. And as he's walking over, he saw a guy he knew over in the gas pumps. He walked over there, he's talking to them, he's yelling loud, he's pointing at my house, he's pointing at the woods, the direction that her body was found. And I know that I looked at that as he was taunting me. That time, those voices got very loud inside my head. Be a man, defend your family, and make them suffer.
At that moment, David remembers a hunting rifle he'd discovered hidden in his upstairs closet only days before. The lone gun not given to his friend for safekeeping.
I remember walking towards my bedroom. By then, the anger was unbelievably high. I felt my body temperature rise. I felt my heart pound like I'd been running a marathon. And I could feel all the veins in my face and my head. And they were getting hot and they were pulsating. And this built up until my head felt like it had 300 pounds of pressure in it. I'm hearing kill them. I'm hearing them guys are like they're screaming at me now.
After the abduction and murder of Mandy LaMer, her father, David LaMer, believes her killer is within reach, and the vigilante spirit that engulfed the town of Teslina now sears his soul.
I cannot say I was going to get that hunting rifle, but I really can't say I wasn't. Almost like I was on autopilot. I saw a picture of my two boys. And I said out loud, guys, there's a bad man in this world that killed your sister. But I just killed him and now we're even. And as I said that, I realized where I was headed. And I knew I could not do it. I knew I could not explain to my boys. And I knew I could not face my God that I was a murderer. I went and I laid down on my bed and I started crying. And I was crying so hard, I was literally shaking and convulsing. And I cried out to God to please remove this rage and do not let me commit this sin.
LaMer decides not to pull the trigger, but police are ready to strike. A judge finally approves a search warrant for Charlie Smithart's home and shop. Troopers collect two .22 caliber rifles, but they don't find the handgun they think was the murder weapon. They also collect metallic particles from the floor of his shop. And investigators seize his pickup. Lab techs compare the metallic particles from the floor and red and blue fibers from the truck to those recovered from Mandy's body.
They're not fingerprints. We're reasonably close to matching, as close as they could be.
And then, a stunning discovery.
We found hairs from Mandy LaMer in his truck. Damning evidence.
On November 26, 1991, troopers surround Smithart's home and close in on him while he's watching TV.
What's going on, pal?
What's going on? Why you gonna come in? Go ahead, turn around, put your hands behind the back.
He's arrested and charged with the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of Mandy LaMer. During his trial, Smithart's own cousin testifies she also spotted his pickup on Mandy's road on the day Mandy was last seen.
So we had him going in and coming out. Charlie Smithart's cousin being a family member who could clearly identify Charlie as being the person that was seen. She saw him going in the opposite direction on that road.
Talk of the town was that Charlie could have never done anything like this. Charlie Smithart's attorney said it was me. All I did was place him at the scene. I seen what I seen.
In the end, Smithart's mother tries to save him by corroborating his alibi that he was home watching TV around 3 o'clock, so he couldn't have grabbed Mandy. She says she saw him there. Then she went to the store later that evening.
We had sent somebody up to the store knowing that this was the defense, and the store kept cash register tapes, found the key receipts for that time period, matching the exact amount in her checkbook. The only one that matched would have been at approximately 317. It was pretty clear at that point in time that if she was at the grocery store at 317, she wasn't Charlie's alibi. She'd been caught in basically a lie.
The defense tries to pin the murder on Dave DeForest, but fails.
There were people that didn't want to believe that Charlie did it. And so, who else to blame other than the person that saw him turn into the area?
When this happened, you know, I know anybody that has a good heart, you know, will come forth. You know, if they see something. They tried to, you know, his attorney just tried to make me look like the baddest guy in the world.
David DeForest wasn't a suspect. He was the red herring for the defense. That's all he was.
I have kids of my own. I've seen my mom lose 3 of her kids. I couldn't imagine losing 1. You know, you never know. If something happens and you think that you may have seen something, come forth. Just come forth. And if it's nothing, it's nothing. You never know. You could put a killer behind bars for life. This whole thing was about finding Mandy LaMer's killer. I'm just glad that I came forth that day.
On July 22nd, 1993, a jury convicts Charles Smithart on all charges. He is sentenced to 114 years behind bars. Despite scientific evidence, many in Teslina find the verdict hard to accept.
I didn't believe it then, I don't believe it now. They say there were fibers and maybe a blonde hair that existed in Charles' vehicle. You know, I really don't know what to say to that.
In 1999, the Supreme Court overturns the verdict on a technicality and orders a new trial. As police prepare for the second trial, they're met with alarming new claims. from one of Smithart's 5 daughters.
And she finally told me that her father, Charlie Smithart, had sexually abused her when she turned about 11 years old. He had done the same things, or had attempted to do the same things to her siblings, her sisters, when they turned about 11 years old. And the older girls tried to protect the younger girls as much as they could.
But Smithart would never stand trial a second time. On December 16, 2000, Charles Smithart dies of lung cancer in prison.
I'm clearly convinced that Charlie Smithart committed this murder. You know, there was all those naysayers too that said, like his mother, who said he's still out there and he's going to kill again. Didn't happen. The killer's dead. If there is a hell, that's where he's at.
David LaMer still lives in Teslina.
Some people will say religion is a crutch. But if I didn't honestly believe that my daughter was in heaven, I had no reason to live. If I didn't believe I could see her again, there was nothing left in my world.
Despite the solace he's found, there are those who believe the pristine wilderness still harbors unseen evil, the kind of wickedness from which no one can hide.
It forever changed what we thought we had. We lived pretty simple lives, not real complex, and we thought we were beyond the reach of the bad things that would happen to us. There's an innocence that's lost that you'll never get back.
We had deluded ourselves into thinking that we were isolated, we were protected. This kind of proved to us that there's even evil in Alaska, and you can't get away from evil. It's everywhere.